Hi, Tanya. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, Brooke. How are you?
Good. You
Good.
look like you're working on a sewing project.
I am. I'm making that's just the pattern sample. I'm making a gown for my daughter to wear to a dance.
That's very sweet. Okay, so one of the things we wanted to talk about today, which is kind of about costs of living, is LD 2226. It's about school budgets. Can you describe it?
Sure. So I just learned about this. LD 2226 just went to public hearing this past week, and it looks like a pretty hefty bill. So I'm still digging into what it all means, but it changes the state school funding formula so that the more rural areas that maybe have lower income families but higher property values, it's going to take into account that lower income and income status of residents in a town rather than only looking at property values. It's a lot to dig into. I think everybody needs to maybe learn a little bit more about it, bring it to the attention of your school board and your maybe your select board, because it does look like it's going to have some impact in our towns.
Okay. And the reason we tend to look at stuff like that has to do with this thing we've talked about, community benefits and why they're kind of cringy.
Mm,
This idea that transmission lines or industrial energy infrastructure installations, they want to make a trade-off with these small towns by saying, "We'll give you a community benefits package." And the issue is, do you wanna describe it?
well, it's again, this is another complicated one. The issue is they give you the community benefits package, but that offsets the state school funding that's coming in. So you get the community benefits, but the state gives less money to the schools, and so the residents' mill rate might still have to go up to cover that difference. So the community benefits package is not that beautiful gift that
Right.
so many people think that it might be.
Right. And most of these rural towns, I mean, I think it's true for most towns actually in Maine, they have more than 50% of their budget goes to school funding. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the towns that we've looked at, I think, had 65% of their budget goes to school funding. That's a pretty big chunk. It makes a big difference. Yeah, so dig into LD 2226. Let's move on.
We're gonna talk about the statuses of the transmission line RFPs because there hasn't been any big news this week. So tell us
Right.
about the statuses.
Okay, so we have the two RFPs, requests for
Yeah.
proposal. One is from ISO New England. They're the ones that manage the grid in New England. For people who aren't aware of that, there's all 6 states, New England, 6 states. ISO New England has a request for proposal to build transmission lines and upgrade some other transmission. That was a summary was put out of there's 6 bids from 4 bidders. A summary was put out on what those bids are, and we're still waiting. There is going to be it's called a PAC meeting. I think it's a I might get this wrong, policy advisory committee, maybe. At ISO New England, they have a meeting March 24th, so it's next Tuesday. They're going to be discussing their bids. We don't know to how much extent they're going to discuss them, but we do know that if any bidders are disqualified, they'll announce those then. So 6 bids, we don't know how many might go forward, if any might go forward. Um, and we do have very limited information on those. So that's the ISO RFP. The other RFP that most people who read our Substacks and maybe watch these videos, the one that they're more familiar with is the one being put out by the Maine Public Utilities Commission, PUC. That request for proposal is to build a transmission line from northern Maine, from generation that has not been built yet, to tie into the ISO grid. And bids for that were due February 27th. There was, I believe, a problem with the system. And so they were delayed until the following Friday, which was last Friday. And so here we are with no information. We don't know if bids were submitted. We don't know if the PUC is actively engaged with them. It's very secretive. It's very behind the scenes, and nothing has been posted. It is a secretive docket.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to highlight here is with ISO New England, we were able to the LTTP RFP, we were able to see, how many bids there were, at
Right.
least. And we were able to see a huge amount of detail about the bits. We
Right.
just couldn't see the names. And the last time the PUC, the main PUC, did a transmission line RFP, they wouldn't even tell the public how many bidders there were, correct?
Correct. We have no idea. The one that was awarded could have been the only bidder.
Yeah. And so again, I'm comparing to New Hampshire, and this is small scale, but New Hampshire had put out an RFP last year to do a study to withdraw from ISO New England because ISO New England is very, very expensive. And we've talked about that a little. We'll probably focus on that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And in their RFP, they described all the things that were needed for bidders. And then when bids came in, New Hampshire posted the names of all the bidders and ranked the bids in order. And again, this is small scale. It's like that was a $250,000 study,
Right.
but it's a different attitude.
Is
We
it
have
mind the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves? Isn't that saying?
yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it. So we would love it if the main PUC would share with the public
Mm,
how many bids were received
right.
and some details about them.
Yeah, they could use the outline from ISO New England. Here's how much the bid was and where they're looking at building and what they're going to upgrade versus build new. Um, and it would be a really great way for maybe some public input to make the project be done right instead
Mhm.
of just get done
Yeah.
badly.
On that note, anything else to add this week?
Oh goodness. I don't think we have anything else. I'm sorry, I don't have my notes right next to me. Just be aware of legislative session is coming to all the bills are working their way through quickly. There's going to be some final floor votes. If you can be aware of those, do it.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Thank you so much, Tanya. Take care.
Thanks, Brooke.